And we're kicking off with this week's Raw, and Seth Rollins' open challenge was never answered as the World Heavyweight Champion was attacked by Finn Balor ahead of their collision at WWE Money in the Bank. Many fans were frustrated that they didn't get the chance to see Rollins in action on this week's Raw, and it wasn't just the audience who were left feeling disappointed. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reports that many in WWE were frustrated with Vince McMahon's decision to nix the original plan for Raw. As he explained, Tommaso Ciampa returned to WWE on Monday Night Raw defeating The Miz, but he was actually supposed to answer the open challenge of Seth Rollins. The match between Rollins and Ciampa was set to get a ton of time, but was changed multiple times over the weekend prior and a few hours prior to the show. Internally, the match was listed as TBA versus Seth Rollins, but was changed to have Rollins attacked and Ciampa to face The Miz. We're told that the move was a Vince McMahon move, and all of those originally planned for the match wanted the match to go through as planned. We haven't heard that it was so Ciampa wouldn't lose his first match back, as there was a plan in order that would have been a non-finish. It was also noted that there has been an internal plan to reunite Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, and while Gargano was at Raw in his native Cleveland, he wasn't planned for the show. Sapp later tweeted that he's heard a lot of frustration surrounding McMahon's decision to change Raw, which of course means he overruled the decisions Triple H and his team had made. Vince McMahon is not technically in charge of WWE Creative, but as chairman, he has the power to overrule others. And with Vince showing no sign of retiring again, this will just be how things are from here on. Rollins didn't have the chance to compete on Raw, but did put his title on the line against Braun Breaker on this week's NXT in Seth's first Gold brand match in a decade. This was the main event of a stacked Night 1 of NXT Gold Rush, which clearly had an effect on the ratings, with the show averaging 773,000 viewers with a .23 in the 18 to 49 demographic. WrestleNomics added that Rollins vs. Breaker ended up overrunning by 8 minutes, but it's not hard to see why, as the popular match drew 950,000 viewers for the Overrun. If fans were wondering if Seth's presence would help NXT, the answer is a definitive yes. And what did you make of Rollins' NXT Homecoming? Let us know in the comments. In just 8 days, WWE will crown a new Mr. and Miss Money in the Bank, and there's been a ton of speculation as to who will be leaving London with a guaranteed title opportunity. Even before he was announced for the match, many considered LA Knight as a favorite to win, but with Logan Paul being added, this rumored win is far from a sure thing for the former Eli Drake. PW Insider Elite reports that it was the plan all along to include Logan Paul in the match, which was only announced this week, but there has been zero creative changes regarding this decision. As for Knight, it's not just fans advocating for a push for him, as it is reported that there are individuals in the company who see Knight winning in London as his breakthrough moment in WWE. We should stress that this does not guarantee him the win, as Paul's celebrity presence could sway WWE, and it's also been reported that the company is considering Damian Priest for the win. Ultimately, Triple H will decide who wins the men's ladder match, and of course his decision can be overruled by Vince McMahon, but we won't have to wait much longer to find out the answer. Right now, few names in WWE are more popular than LA Knight, who continues to win over fans no matter what city he competes in. This is quite the turnaround for Knight, who was called up to WWE's main roster as the manager Max Dupree. And why exactly did WWE not want him to wrestle? Speaking to the Daily Mail this week, Knight provided an answer, stating that WWE were concerned about someone of his age being introduced as a wrestler on the main roster. For context, Knight is 40, but as he explained in the interview, hasn't gone down with the injuries and surgeries that many wrestlers have faced by the time they hit the big 4-0. Knight added that he was grateful to be removed as a manager, saying it was not my cup of tea and definitely I don't think it was for me. Given that the WWE has names including 46-year-old AJ Styles and 48-year-old Rey Mysterio, it's odd that they felt 40 was too old for Knight, who is proving that in the ring, age is just a number. After an impressive outing at WWE Backlash earlier this month, many speculated that WWE would want to sign Carlito to a new deal, and it was revealed recently that this is what's happened. Carlito has pulled out of several independent events, telling promoters that he's signed with WWE, and now we know more about his return to the company. According to an update from PW Insider, WWE is currently targeting the July 7th episode of SmackDown as the night Carlito's return will be official, and that show will happen inside MSG. Carlito has been having fun with the reports of his return, even stating that the rumors are true during a recent event, before clarifying that he's talking about the rumors that he trained El Hijo del Vikingo. Those backstage at Backlash were impressed by how mature Carlito is compared to his first run with WWE, and had a great seat to see him aid Bad Bunny in his street fight against Damian Priest after the Judgment Day interfered. For many fans, Carlito was part of their childhoods, so it's no wonder why fans are excited for his return. And are you excited to see the former US champion back on TV in a matter of weeks? In late 2021, Sheamus was partnered with Ridge Holland and later Butch to create the Brawling Brutes, which have been a staple of SmackDown ever since. Despite the Brutes being regulars on TV and having that feud with Imperium, the group has yet to hold any gold, something that Sheamus is more than aware of. Speaking with Alistair McGeorge of the Metro, Sheamus spoke about his run with the Brutes, and while he's been enjoying it, there have been serious setbacks to WWE's creative. He said, "I just don't think they've really capitalized on the group. I don't think they've really let us show what we can do. This stop-start stuff is really hard when you're trying to highlight young talent. It's frustrating, you know? So I don't know, maybe we'll get an opportunity to show what we can really do as a group, because a lot of those other groups who are out there now have definitely got an opportunity that we haven't had to do some storyline stuff, some character stuff. That's kind of been a shame, mate, to be honest, considering the talent that's in there. I've always tried to get the boys involved. There's just a lot of creative stuff that's out of my hands. They kind of got sidelined on that, which shouldn't have been the case, especially the history we have with Drew. There was a great opportunity to tell a story there of Drew coming back into the fold and the boys being apprehensive of that happening. While the Brutes will be represented at Money in the Bank, it won't be by Sheamus, as only Butch has qualified for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. As for Sheamus, it remains to be seen if he ever wins the Intercontinental title, the one title missing for him to get the Grand Slam, but for now, the Celtic Warrior believes that a lot more could be done with the Brawling Brutes. Yesterday, we reported on AEW Fight Forever and the many entrances of current WWE superstars in the game, which include Rey Mysterio, Gunther, Io Sky, and others. It turns out that it's not just entrances that Fight Forever is borrowing, as the game's Create a Character mode allows players to use Brock Lesnar's F5 as their finisher. In Fight Forever, the move is called diverticulitis, a nod to Lesnar's condition that led to his retirement from UFC in 2011, and there's even more nods to WWE. In screenshots from the story mode, Cody Rhodes can be seen telling a story about a scorpion and a frog, and fans were quick to point out that this is the same promo he cut on Raw not long ago. For many fans, AEW Fight Forever will be the biggest non-WWE wrestling game since TNA Impact over a decade ago, but despite not being WWE's project, WWE's influence can still be felt in Fight Forever. Now, both in and out of AEW, Bandido has proven to be an excellent wrestler, but this week, the Masked Star was called out for a very bad habit. On the K100 podcast, Conan said that Bandido has a habit of not answering his phone, and said that he'll remember this if Bandido is ever out of AEW and in need of a job. Prior to signing with AEW, there was interest in Bandido from WWE, and while his future looks very bright, it would do him a lot of good to answer the phone. For 4 seasons now, Dark Side of the Ring has covered various topics from pro wrestling, including the Chris Benoit tragedy, the plane ride from hell, and the Montreal Screwjob. One person who hasn't been covered yet is Sherry Martel, the iconic manager who tragically died in 2007, but there were plans for an episode at one time. During a recent live stream, Booker T confirmed that he was approached by Dark Side of the Ring producers, but simply said, I just can't do it." Booker and Sherry worked closely together during the pair's time in WCW, and Martel would also serve as a manager in WWE and ECW, as well as other promotions. Sherry died on June 15, 2007, and her death was ruled as a drug overdose, and her passing would be overshadowed by the actions of Chris Benoit, who committed his atrocities the following week. Time will tell if we ever get a Dark Side of the Ring episode about Sherry, but with Vice recently declaring bankruptcy, a possible 5th season of the series remains unclear. And we're ending today with Stacey Abrams, who is suing WWE for alleged wrongful termination, claiming that she was fired for taking a WrestleMania chair when others were allowed. Abrams claims that WWE had made the decision to fire her after she spoke up against racist storylines, and there has been an update in the case. PW Insider reports the WWE was recently granted an appeal to extend the deadline for responding to Abrams' claim, and we'll keep following this case for further updates.